We're hearing that President Trump has announced that there will be a 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs for all countries except China.
In a laboratory outside Ottawa, Canada, a package has just arrived carrying the latest iPhone. An analyst studies its chip, measures the microscopic distance, the nanometers between transistors on a speck of silicone the size of a pinhead. This is Tech Insights, a company that tears down high-tech goods, maps their parts, and shares the intel with its clients. On any given day, these guys are dissecting laptops, smartwatches, drones, TVs, all kinds of intelligent devices. And when the latest iPhone comes out, it's all hands on deck.
So we show up at the Apple Store about 8 a.m. every Friday morning. They have a release, and we're back here in the lab within 20 minutes. By mid-afternoon, we've identified all of the components. So within as little as 4 hours. We typically will publish a blog about our initial findings by 3 p.m. the same day. And so half of the time is spent probably just doing photo preparation and technical writing, right? By the time we have a costed bill of materials, we're probably at day 2, day 3. By the end of a week, it's fully baked. We understand what's going on in the phone. But we've been doing this for almost 30 years.
It takes nimble fingers to get at the guts of a smartphone like an iPhone. Screw by tiny screw, the layers come off. The casing, the battery, the camera, microphone, and speaker all have value. All come from somewhere.
An iPhone has, for conversation's sake, about 210 pieces in it. Each one of those 210 pieces is competed by all of the multinational semiconductor companies. If we start counting screws and housings and antennas and things like that, it probably inches closer to 300.
But the most vital organ, the brains of the operation, if you will, is the chip. Determining their structure and where they come from is at the heart of Tech Insights' work.
Back about 10 years ago, Texas Instruments had been a dominant supplier in the mobile phone industry. We expected to see Texas Instruments inside the device, and we did, but traditionally, that Texas Instruments device would have been designed and fabricated in Richardson, Texas. When we got into the device, we saw things that were not traditionally associated with fabrication in Richardson, Texas. And we started to look at it more closely, and we realized that it was now outsourced to 2 companies. One, UMC, United Microelectronics in Taipei, and TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing. They are companies adjacent to each other in Taiwan. That was a big surprise for us, but those are kind of geeky surprises. It signaled a change in the industry where people were now starting to outsource.
Today, just about everything in an iPhone is outsourced somewhere, even the design.
iPhones are designed by Apple teams that are global. They're all around the world. The components what's inside the iPhone, I'm going to use an example, a power management IC, which controls the battery utilization, is designed by Dialog Semiconductor. Now, Dialog could have designed that in their UK offices, they could have designed it in their German offices, or they could have designed it in their California offices. They would then have their chip, Dialog would have their chip fabricated in Taiwan by TSMC or someone else, but not fabricated in their facilities. Just, the iPhone contains a chip from Dialog, which was designed potentially in Scotland, fabricated in Taiwan, packaged in Malaysia, and tested in the Philippines, and then shipped to an assembly facility in China, where the common story starts, where the final phone is assembled, tested, and then shipped to the consumer.
When an iPhone is shipped from China, the U.S. adds each phone and any other imports to its trade deficit with Beijing. But according to the World Trade Organization, nearly a third of products exported from China include parts and components made elsewhere. A study out of Oxford University in England suggests the U.S. trade deficit with China would be half if the so-called intermediate products were removed from the math. But teasing out the true numbers means huge amounts of work for governments, and the landscape of supply chains is complex and constantly shifting.
let's say that a consumer imports avocados from Mexico and eats them directly, obviously they're going to be paying, that consumer would pay the tax. If it's brought in by a manufacturing company and used as an input, a part for a car or something, the manufacturer will pay the cost. And maybe the manufacturer of the car will be able to pass some of that cost on to the purchaser of the car.
The importers, even in the United States, are trying to say, you are not punishing these countries, you're punishing us. These products are going to become more expensive with the tariffs that makes us less competitive and could potentially reduce our markets.
I'm pretty worried about the impact of tariffs on developing countries, because obviously they are much weaker. So let me talk about Madagascar for a moment. So they are exporting vanilla to the United States as well as the rest of the world. So you are setting because they are not buying nothing from the United States, which is obviously because the per capita income is extremely low. You are setting a tariff of the 47%, reciprocal. Reciprocal with respect to what? And apart from that, are you going to get vanilla from Wyoming or Nevada or Colorado?